take projection.
Welcome everybody to Taking On Sports. I am TD. That is Greg. Greg, how you doing today, man?
I am good. How are you today, sir?
I'm pretty good. It's fall officially, I think, in Birmingham. At least that first one you get, and then it'll go back to maybe being a little warmer when you
Right.
get back. But it's chilly enough.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's football season weather.
Yeah, it
Um,
is.
Making sense as we are deep in the throes of football season. Uh, Big weekend in the college ranks. We'll start with our Crimson Tide, of course. Not a pretty win, that's for sure. It started out great.
Start off good. Yeah.
Yeah, good lead. Looked like they're just going to be able to roll, and then the offense just stalled out. And the defense, I guess, just got tired.
Yeah.
Arkansas makes a little comeback. Alabama holds on late. They do get big conversions from the offense when they need it, so
Yeah.
there's a positive. But yeah, what are your thoughts on the game yesterday?
Just I don't. It's just one. It just seemed like one of those games where you get a lead and everybody just got super complacent and stop playing. We see that. You see it all the time in games, and hopefully it doesn't involve your team. And yesterday it was us, but we are able to hold on there. You know. It happens. I guess the big thing with that is just it's probably a good thing though to get that to get them refocused again because there
Hmm.
was a lot of hype about the team after the A&M win there, and maybe some of them are starting to really feel themselves. So uh,
Taking that rat poison in.
yeah, some of it, and another thing too. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean Arkansas. They're not they're not a terrible team. Yes, they only have two wins, but they have talent. They've rarely been blown out. They played everybody really, I mean, pretty close. So you knew that at some point they were going to give a fight. Um, so when you fall asleep like that, that's going to wait. They had the opportunity to come back. They're a prideful team. I mean, Sam Pittman guys play hard, so
Yeah,
wasn't
and
shocked by that.
the Arkansas matchup for Alabama has always been particularly ugly.
Yeah.
Some losses in the '90s and then
Hmm.
early 2000s. We were there for one or two.
Yeah.
Uh, it's just always seems to be an ugly game on the Alabama schedule. I mean, occasionally, yeah,
Hmm.
we'll take them for a team that we've never lost to under Nick Saban. Nick Saban has now beaten Arkansas every year since he
Yeah.
took over in Tuscaloosa, which is crazy. Um,
Right.
it's even crazier when you think that there are multiple teams that could or almost. I mean, he's only lost the one time the state his first season.
Right.
Just lost to Tennessee for the first time last season.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. Um,
No.
but yeah, no, that Arkansas game's always ugly. It seems like, or at least it's uglier than uh, most other regular matchups for the Tide. Um,
Right.
but yeah, there's not really much to say about that game. I think he made some good points. Now Saban has some coaching points that he can go over.
Right.
Um,
I guess I guess the most worrisome thing still remains that line because
yeah,
I I know like Proctor, he's 18. I know that he's young, and this year he's gonna learn a lot, and it's gonna make him better for the future. But man, that left side,
yeah,
you just
against
don't know.
opposing lines and coordinators that can scheme up to take advantage of that line, or guys that can just do it with a 4-man rush. Even worse,
Yeah.
it's one thing if people are sending blitzes and getting pressure, and then we can take advantage of that. That used
Right.
to happen. When Tua was our quarterback, he used to. I loved when people blitzed us. He'd find one of those receivers on the slant somewhere, and then they're
Right.
gone to the house. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's something that's playing with fire for sure. Um, Jalen getting hit that many times hasn't burned us directly. Most of his interceptions are just bad decisions, but
Right.
Eventually that's a strip sack or like he's hit while
Yeah.
throwing and that's picked. That's waiting to happen there,
Exactly.
or he
Throw a
gets
duck
hurt.
or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's worst case scenario. He gets
Mm-hmm.
injured, and we saw what that looks like. So I don't think that's what we want to see for the rest of the season, especially with the games coming up. So
Uh-huh. Yeah. Um, yeah. Probably the two biggest games of the season coming up right
I
now.
mean, yeah, I mean, two, hate week, of course, looking for
Mm-hmm.
revenge there,
Yeah.
and then we get the bye week, and then of course LSU. Yeah, two basically, determines our fate
Mm-hmm.
of whether it's the going to the SEC championship game, stay in the playoff hunt or not. So yeah, two big games.
Yeah. Uh, yeah. Not again, like I said before, not much to say about this one really. Alabama won. They held on. And that's that. Like you said, it's hate
Yep.
week now. It's get ready for
Yes,
Tennessee and get
sir.
some
It
revenge for
is.
last year. Get a big
For
cross divisional win. And go into that bye week before LSU.
sure.
Of course, the yesterday's heavyweight bout was Washington and Oregon, and it lived up to all the hype.
It
Um,
definitely did.
Back and forth, a late winner. Michael Penix throws a late touchdown. The Huskies hold on and stop Oregon. Huge win for them. They're up to, I believe they climbed as high as fifth in the AP poll.
Yeah, I think they're five. Yep.
Yeah, which quite frankly surprises me and just tells you how much a lot of these voters just set their top 25 at the beginning of the year and then just go off that, which is
Yeah.
a weird way to do it for me. I understand having a preseason top 25, but pretty much after the first week or two, I'd probably make a lot of changes.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
some stuff you could definitely foot
yeah, I
fluctuate,
would
move
have no.
around, and
They get two first place votes, and I have no problem. I think I would probably put them number one. That's the best one of the year right now.
right.
Um, but yeah, just a great back and forth game. I mentioned the late winner. I mean, what do you think? Is Washington the best team in the country right now?
They're definitely in that top tier. That
Hmm.
offense is elite. That receiving core, Michael Penix. I mean, they're a fantastic team. Um, and I guess you question some of the defensive, but at the same time, at key moments they did what they needed to do against a good Oregon offense. So,
Hmm.
I mean, they're maybe not the best defense, but they do enough that they're not going to cost you a game either.
Yeah, exactly. And then that's with that offense too. You can have that kind of bend but don't break defense.
Right. Yeah, because that offense is elite.
Yeah, and
Same
they don't
time
have
though,
bad days.
they don't. But I will say, I guess the biggest question is, some of Dan Lanning. And, you like to see it. You like to see a guy stick to his guns and know
Hmm.
what he wants to do in certain situations. But man, he may have cost them the game with a couple of those times. He may have
Hmm.
probably should have kicked the field goal. I mean,
And
that's just his style.
he said he came out and said he took 100% that loss on him.
Yeah,
But yeah, yeah, you do. If they convert that fourth down late in the game, then everyone praises it, and his
yeah,
aggressiveness won the game or whatever.
right.
So that's just one of those things. I-
It's just
it's
one of those
it's
50-50 things, and
it's tough though, yeah, because the risk reward, the reward is obviously you get a huge first down late, maybe you run out the clock and win
right.
that game. The risk is not only do you give Michael Penix in that offense the ball back,
That's
but you give
short.
him back half a field. Yeah.
Right.
And I think that was the big thing. And yeah,
Yeah.
why not try to punt and pin him deep, or even
Let's
worst
just
case,
see.
the punt you punt and it's a touchback. That's still 80
Yeah.
yards that got to go instead of 50.
Exactly.
Um,
And for the most part, that second half, that Oregon defense had held pretty good because, I mean, they scored with one touchdown before that, and they had really started getting to Mike a little bit. So, for the second half, that Oregon defense looked pretty good.
hmm uh, yeah, I think that was a bit, and I don't think we've heard the last of Oregon.
Oh,
I
no.
wouldn't be
No.
surprised, knowing what we know and the game we're about to talk about in the team, if Oregon wins out the
Hmm.
rest of their schedule and we get a rematch of
Yeah.
this game in the Pac-12 title game.
I don't think anybody be mad about that at all.
Uh-uh.
At all.
Um,
Because, I mean, it lived up to the hype, and you'd have to think that
Mm-hmm.
it's be pretty much the same type of game should they see each other in December.
Mm-hmm. A team that took a big tumble in the top 25 rankings this
Mm.
week, USC Trojans go to South Bend and get dominated by the Irish.
House.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, it was never a game. Uh, Notre Dame just thoroughly beat them up. This is old school, just bully ball. I think kind of what Marcus Freeman would want to play there. It seems to be the kind of football he wants to play: run
Yeah.
and a dominating defensive performance. 3 interceptions, first ever for Caleb Williams in his career. Uh, just absolutely bullied them. Um,
Yeah.
and I think it was a little surprising because, I mean, granted, they did give up 48 points on defense, but they didn't lose because of that. They lost because the Notre Dame defense absolutely shut down their offense.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah,
Absolutely shut
yeah,
them
how
down.
surprising was that?
Yeah. That was. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen USC look that bad offensively since Caleb Williams has been under center. I mean, they, that's the one thing you didn't ever think was going to be the problem with USC was going to be the offense. But credit to Notre Dame, they got at them early, forced some turnovers, able to get the big lead from that, and first time that really Caleb Williams really looked more. He's had quite the last year was amazing. For most of this year was amazing, and he just looked very average
Hmm.
last night. May have based upon other people's season performances, may have pushed him back a little in the Heisman race as well, for sure.
Absolutely, yeah. We just talked about Michael Penix Jr. I'm pretty sure he
Yeah.
took the lead.
Oh yeah, for sure. No doubt
Um,
about it.
until Jalen Milrow catches him, of course.
Oh, of course.
Uh, but yeah, yeah, I thought that was the big surprise to me was just that that happened the way it did, and it wasn't like
Yeah.
a shootout loss, which we all thought was coming for USC.
Yeah, I
But
thought. Yeah, I thought. I thought that was gonna be something where um the Notre Dame defense, they're physical defense, but I thought that the athletes had have an issue staying up with them.
hmm,
Those talented wide receivers at USC, eventually we get able to get past them, score some touchdowns, and I thought on the other end that they would be able to score just because that USC defense is not great, but a
no,
completely different game than we all expected for sure. Over by the end of the first quarter, pretty much. I mean,
uh
after
huh,
that, it was kind of not really a game at all.
no, and
And
you
this
kind
kind
of it wasn't just like, and that's not even saying that in retrospect. That's
no,
like watching that game live. You just kind of like, yeah, after that first quarter, you're like, I don't think USC is going to come back.
yeah,
Even with that
one,
explosive offense, which normally you're like,
yeah,
okay, like at some point they're going to like drop 20 points in a 5 minute span here.
yeah. You just didn't
But
feel that that was gonna happen at all.
mm-mm.
Even like when they got down to like Arizona, you were like, well, you just had a feeling they'll be fine.
Yeah.
But yesterday there was just not never a thought that they're gonna come back. You just thought, dang, this is
Mm-mm.
quite impressive. And then the craziest thing though, just with all the other games that happened, you saw what happened like Louisville after they bullied Notre Dame the
Mm-hmm.
week before. So every week is just you never know. That's what
Yeah.
makes it even crazier.
It's that kind of season.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, for all, we say that about Washington being the best team in the country right now, but
Hmm.
there's not like a
This
Georgia
is not a
last year or an
no.
Alabama or LSU from years past where it's like,
Mm-mm,
okay, that is the
no.
best team, and then there's everybody else. It
Right.
is just there's
No.
a top tier of teams, but that's a really big number.
Yeah.
There's that second tier,
Yeah.
which is huge. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
And there's no one that you're like, yeah, they're definitely head and shoulder. Yeah, definitely no one you're saying, oh, they're head and shoulders above everybody.
yeah.
No favorites. Um, and yeah, I think the crazy thing, we're not even to November yet when even more crazy things happen. So I think we're quite in for quite a few more surprises throughout the season for what we've seen thus far.
Yeah. Um, across the country, are down. Uh, a game that should have been bigger if not for Mario Cristobal's lack of coaching awareness last week. North Carolina, Miami. North Carolina took it to them. Ended up being a 10-point game, but it was really
Yeah,
North Carolina's
it was way
offensive.
worse than what it looked. Yeah,
Yeah. You felt maybe there's a couple times that even if Miami got close or was really in it, you just like that you didn't get the feeling they were going to make a play on defense, and they
you're
didn't.
right. No, did
Um,
not at all.
so now's the question: is do we have to start taking, or is it long past time that now we talk about North Carolina only as maybe an ACC title contender, but as a playoff contender?
Hmm.
You agree with that? They're a playoff contender.
they're almost there to me. I don't know. I think maybe it's just because of more the name North Carolina. Do we
Mm-hmm.
kind of give them kind of the, no, maybe not, but yeah, I mean, based upon what they're doing, and the thing is, they're getting better every week.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're looking good. I mean, you got. I guess they do have to give them their due. I mean, it's. I guess we're thinking more, of course, of that basketball school, but yeah, they're playing good football, and they've been beating folks pretty soundly. It's not, last year they had a lot of close games, and they're giving up a lot of points and having to fight for wins. This year they're putting people to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And then they got their guy back. He got off the NCAA finally gave him his eligibility, and he had a heck of a game yesterday. So,
Right.
and just another weapon. And Drake May, he's having a heck of a season. His stock is climbing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know a lot of Alabama fans are thinking what could have been had he stayed committed to the
Man,
Tide. Um,
yeah,
can't blame the guy for not wanting to sit behind. Like I guess he would have sat behind Mac and then Bryce.
yeah,
But
yeah,
um, but yeah. Elsewhere, a game with two teams uh, coming back from losses. A result I didn't expect. Missouri goes into Kentucky and wins fairly easily.
yeah.
Uh, 38
They
21.
they really that second half they really took it to them. I
Mm-hmm.
think Missouri is really showing that they're a pretty good team.
Yeah.
You know, when they first beat Kansas State, it was like, well, that's nice, but maybe Kansas State isn't that good. But then, Missouri is really a good team. Like they could have easily won that LSU game last week in that shootout,
Well, I'd say
and they
yeah.
really took
Their only loss is that LSU game against that offense,
right.
and they
Yeah,
could have, and you argue
yeah,
maybe even should have won that game at certain points. They had
exactly.
it. Um, they beat a good Memphis team.
They did beat a good Memphis team,
Yeah, this
and
Kentucky
they.
when this was in Lexington, a place where Kentucky's pretty tough to beat.
Mhm. It was a rainy night,
Hmm.
and at times they out physical them, and that doesn't happen that much in Kentucky.
Yeah,
But of course we've seen it against the Georgia type, but more of the middle, I guess, considered more of the second tier of the SEC. Doesn't happen that much, and they really
right.
took it to them there. And you look at the rest of that, this, outside of the Georgia game. I mean, this team could very well be 10-2 at the end of the year.
Yeah, that's a very winnable. They get South Carolina next week, a bye before they
Hmm.
have to go to Athens, and okay, like
Hmm.
we know they played them
Probably
close
not.
last year, but look what happened to Kentucky and Athens. Like
Yeah,
that's probably
yeah, probably
um,
not.
probably not happening. Yeah. Then they get Tennessee and Florida at home, and they
Yeah.
can beat both of
I
those
mean,
teams.
those are two winnable games. I mean, they could lose. Those are two toss-up games, of course. But yeah, there's nothing that says they couldn't win those. And of course, the end of the year
Exactly.
with Arkansas, and by that point, who knows what Arkansas is even looking like if they've lost some more games? What do they feel like even putting out on the field?
Yeah. Exactly.
So who
Um,
who who knows? But yeah, they could very well be a 10-2 team at the end of the year, New Year
Absolutely.
Six
I
type of
agree with that.
caliber team.
Yeah, that's a it could be, depending on what happens with the
All right,
SEC title and playoff
for
teams, like
sure.
that could be a Sugar Bowl. Yeah, right there.
Yeah, most definitely, and that's quite a turnaround from a guy that was came in the season on the hot seat.
I mean, yeah, yeah. Um, elsewhere, um, see, talking to the big teams, they all won real easy games. We'll blowouts:
Oh
Georgia,
yeah,
Michigan, Ohio State, Florida State, Penn State, all big wins.
yeah.
Um,
Did what they're supposed to do.
yeah, exactly. That's all right. Point blank. That's all you need to say about those. Some second tier ranked matchup: Oregon State beat UCLA in Corvallis. Um, it's kind of a back and forth affair. Kind of a
Mhm.
ugly game. Um, considering
That
Oregon
Oregon,
State.
that right, that Oregon State defense is pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
they had their slip up, and in retrospect now that's looking really surprising. Um,
yeah,
it
it
was a
does.
road game though, but yeah, they speaking of teams with favorable schedules, Oregon State. I mean, their
Hmm.
next three at least, they have to go to Arizona and Colorado. Then they get
Hmm.
Stanford at home. You would think they're favored for all three of those games. That put them at
Yeah, you
9 wins.
yeah.
And then they have, of course, their closing. Their last 2 weeks are killer. It's home for Washington, and then at Oregon for Civil War. So,
Mm.
um, but yeah. Uh, let's see. Elsewhere, Tennessee held on to beat A&M. Speaking of that game
Ugly
kind of
game.
got uglied up. Yeah, it was a
Boy, that was an ugly game.
neither
That
team looked really dangerous.
not at all. I mean, both offenses were pretty bad. Tennessee had some solid moments running the ball, but neither man. As much as after last year and all the hype of that Tennessee passing game, I mean, they really took a big step back in that department for sure. Their running game is much better this year. Their defense is probably better, but I'm just surprised that how bad that passing game has really looked this year. Milton is definitely who a lot of people thought he was going to be coming into the season
Yeah, he has the same inconsistency problems that he's had plague him
the whole
throughout the
time.
rest of his career. Yeah, and
Yeah,
it hurts losing guys like Jalen Hyatt. To
yeah,
because with his arm too, those would be some deep
yeah.
bombs.
Crazy, exactly.
But yeah, just that Tennessee offense is winning ugly. They can win running the ball,
Hmm.
which was weird against that A&M defense. But yeah, elsewhere SEC LSU spanked Auburn. Um, it was kind of over early.
Yeah,
It was just kind of
they
a
just
slow
don't
burn.
have the even against, and they just didn't have any way to score points. I mean that till they get once they get a quarterback, Auburn will be okay. But right now that
Yeah,
quarterback play is so bad, like they
they
had
need
no
it. They need
passing
it.
game at all.
Yeah, they need a few things.
Yeah,
They just need that recruiting has slipped off there
yeah.
past few years. Duke pretty solid win over NC State. They keep rolling
Hmm.
on. Some upsets this week in the top 25. You mentioned earlier Louisville after their big win over Notre
Hmm.
Dame went to Pitt and just got kind of pushed around
Ouch.
themselves. Um,
And that's a bad pit team. That's a
yeah,
one
it's
win
not
team
a
coming into that game.
yeah. This is not one
That
of those
is
like sneaky good Pitt teams where you don't realize it, and
no.
all of a sudden they're like 8-2 or something. You're like, oh, like
This is a horrible pit team.
yeah,
I was shocked. I mean, because they've looked horrible. I mean, you look at it and they've lost every game. I mean, they even got. I mean, Virginia Tech beat them pretty soundly. I mean, this is not a good pit team at all. And Louisville was getting a lot of hype, and rightfully
hmm
so. I mean, they really took it to Notre Dame last week, and this week it's just like, what is this even the same team? Like it's crazy.
yeah. That's a really disappointing loss if you're Louisville. Um,
Yeah,
you really could have. You could have gotten. You made some momentum. Made some noise if you were them after
exactly.
such a big
Oh,
win for that
big.
program that first year, the new regime. They get a bye this week. The end of the month,
Thanks.
they get a home date with Duke. It would have been huge. I mean, it still is.
Yeah, it's still a
Um,
big game, but lost a little bit
yeah.
lesser there.
Now they're marching for error of like sneaking into the ACC title game is just
Took a
slim
big
now.
hit.
They have to win out
Yeah,
basically to have a chance,
right,
and it's not a hard schedule because they get Duke at home, then they get Virginia Tech at home, and we mentioned how bad they
right.
are. Um, get Virginia at home,
Yeah,
That's a winnable game.
for
Go to
sure.
Miami, and we've
Mhm.
seen,
Who knows
Miami
with
isn't.
Miami?
Yeah, they can win in Miami, and then they would end, with a non-conference game, the rivalry game at Kentucky or home for
Right.
Kentucky. So,
Yeah,
but
and
yeah,
that's the
that's a
thing.
bad loss.
Yeah, it's a bad loss. I mean, it's they're still way ahead of where people expected them to be. But yeah, definitely not the one that you wanted to be your first loss of the season. If they lost the first game, maybe if it was a Duke game, understandable. But last night, I was like, what in the world? But I guess that's just college football for you. I mean, these guys are at that age group, no matter how talented or, even if they're a better team, sometimes the 18 to 20 is, should we, you know, 18 to
Yeah,
21-year-old guys, you never know. I mean, heck, to get up every week and, be ready to go. I mean, it's tough to do. And, sometimes you get punched in the mouth and it's just have no response.
yeah. Um, Speaking of weird results and blowouts, Arizona went into Pullman
Oh my
and
goodness.
beat the ever loving shit out of Washington State.
Yeah.
Like what, 44 to
Yeah.
6.
Yeah,
The
they stomped a mud hole in them.
And the surprising thing was
Wow.
in Pullman. If it happened in
Yeah,
Tucson, you'd still be surprised at the score, but you're like, Arizona does that at home.
yeah.
But to go into Pullman, where Washington State's so tough to beat, and not only
And
beat
just
them, but
how?
just beat them, like,
Yeah. And that just, it was a good start of the season, but they really, they
hmm
took a tough loss to UCLA last week, and then,
hmm
Arizona came in. But, good for Arizona because, I mean, they've been close throughout. I mean, they were right with
hmm
Mississippi State. They were right with USC, two games
hmm
that they could have won. You can see that they're improving. They're getting better. They seem to have the right coaching staff in there. But yeah, I mean, that was a big win for their program, for sure.
yeah.
And on the other side, I mean, they're looking very, Cam Ward looked so good through the first 4 weeks of the season, and now it's like, wow,
No, yeah.
it's
He's
kind of,
been
I
made
don't
to
know what's
look
going on there. Yeah,
pretty bad, yeah, the past couple
yeah,
of seasons there, or games. I'm sorry. And then Oklahoma State upset Kansas. I actually called that one
yeah.
in the bets column Friday.
Busy.
So,
Wow.
just something about it. I was like,
Something
Kansas,
that
no
said,
Jalen Daniels.
mm-hmm.
It just felt kind of weird.
Yeah.
Um,
And even then, they almost, I mean, they got the lead late,
oh
and
yeah, yeah, no, Kansas. That was just a good comeback. Oklahoma State, they're not as dangerous as they have been in recent years,
mm,
but
no,
they might be better than people thought they would be this year.
right.
Um, and then Friday night was a very interesting game. Um,
That it was.
Colorado hosted Stanford. Seemed like a should be an easy win for Colorado, and then they went up 29 to
Mm-hmm.
nothing at halftime. They were rolling along, uh, and then just everything fell apart. They let a pretty bad
Imploded.
Stanford team. We talk about that Pitt team. This is a bad
Mm-hmm.
Stanford team.
It is
Um,
very bad.
just shut them down the second half. Come back and steal the game in overtime. Um,
Yeah,
46-43, just a bad loss for even, Colorado's a rebuilding team.
but that's still a
Um,
bad loss
yeah, like I said, that's a bad Stanford team. You're up 29 points at halftime at
at
home.
home.
Shador Sanders still throws 400 yards and five
Yeah,
touchdowns. It's not like,
still put up the stat line.
yeah,
But
they
man,
just,
that wide receiver for Stanford, his second half stat line,
mm-hmm.
ridiculous.
Eric
Well, he had like two.
Iomanner.
Yeah,
Yeah, he
and what
finished with
two?
294 yards on
Yeah,
13 catches with three TDs. And yeah, in
yeah,
the second half alone, he had a 97-yard touchdown reception, a 60-yard touchdown reception.
right.
And then in overtime, had a 30-yard touchdown reception.
hmm And one of the most ridiculous catches of the season too. That
Yeah,
touchdown.
yeah, just absolutely
Just ridiculous.
made, embarrassed that Colorado secondary the second half. Um, Travis Hunter was back and did help out immensely for Colorado. They had him on a play
Hmm.
count, and it seemed like he played more offensive snaps than defensive. He had a great game himself. 13 catches for $140 and 2 touchdowns. Um,
Yeah. You know, he
yeah,
might be a better receiver long term.
mm-hmm.
That's just my thoughts. I mean, I mean, he's solid in the secondary, but I think overall and long term NFL wise, I think his calling might be as a receiver because he's dynamic.
Yeah, he's a very aggressive pass catcher. You
Yeah.
kind of really love to see that. If it's one of those guys, you can put the ball anywhere around him, and
Hmm. He's
he's
gonna
going to
make a
make a
play
play
on it.
on it. Yeah,
Exactly.
that was a bad loss for not just because of the result, the blown lead and the opponent, but that
But
really
their
hurts
bowl,
Colorado's. Yeah, the bowl.
yeah,
They needed two
because
more wins, and you were
that
counting
was
on
their
that one
fifth.
being a automatic
Yeah,
one, and now
yeah. Now the
the
rest of
schedule
that
get.
schedule, oof.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because
What
now
is
you
it?
got to
It
go
was
to
like,
UCLA,
yeah,
Oregon State at home,
hmm,
Arizona at
yeah,
home, which we know are a lot
yeah,
tougher now, and then you end with two road
right,
games at Washington State and at Utah.
yeah. So
So
very well
it's
may I mean they may very well not win another game, but very well could still get to six. I mean it's possible, but
mm-hmm,
very less likely. But I mean you would have much rather have had all those games with only one more,
mm-hmm.
one more needed. Now with two, I don't
Yeah,
know if two's happening.
yeah. Like I said a few weeks ago, we might have said, okay, that they'll easily beat Arizona at home, and then they can just
Hmm.
steal one of those other games.
Hmm.
But
Excuse
yeah,
me.
now it's
Man, you
looking that's going
never.
to be tough.
Man, it is gonna be tough.
Um,
Man.
any other results from this week you want to go over real quick?
Oh well, I thought it was kind of surprising that some of the Big Ten results were kind of crazy. The fact that Iowa really took it to Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
Illinois took the bad loss to Nebraska last week and turned around and beat Maryland this week. Like, what in the world is going on?
Yeah, and they really, yeah, held that Maryland offense in check too.
Yeah,
That's kind of a surprising one to me because Illinois hasn't been that good this year either.
no, they have not. Because I mean, Nebraska the week prior, they if the score was closer than what it should have been, like Nebraska turned the ball over like 3 times in the red zone.
Mm-hmm.
So really, Nebraska dominated that game. And so I thought, man, I thought for sure Maryland was going to take it to them, and
Mm-hmm.
Iowa really took it to Wisconsin in Madison. So that was not that they scored points, but the fact that they didn't, they never do. But I mean, that defense really shut down
Yeah, they just
any. And, it's the crazy thing is as much hype is coming into the season, man. We all kind of thought, wow, this is gonna be a epic Wisconsin offense. It really hasn't been near as amazing as what maybe we thought coming into the season.
no, not at all. Yeah, it'll
You know,
take probably
we
Luke Fickle
thought
some
Tanner,
time to get his
right,
players in there.
right, but we thought, man, got a long-term guy and Tanner Mordecai coming in. We know he can sling the ball. Maybe not the right system, but for 1 year, and maybe it'll be interesting to see what happens. And it's been far from interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And
Um,
then and then I was shocked at that TCU game. As much as they struggled, and then they lose their quarterback, and then they really took it to BYU. Was a 44 to like 18 or 12, and I was like, what in
yeah,
the
no,
world?
it's a
Where's
very
this
easy
team
win
been?
for the Horned Frogs. Yeah, yeah, they you wonder if that was a team that maybe just we know they're a good team, they're well coached,
Yeah,
and maybe that was
yeah,
just a
just
team
like
that
tired of losing.
yeah that and maybe just a team that because of so much turnover they needed to get in a rhythm and get gelled as a team and units, different
Right.
units, and now they're finally starting to gel and work together. So
Hmm.
maybe who knows, maybe TCU goes on the run here.
Yeah.
They do have
Yeah, I thought
schedule wise. Um,
their schedule is tough at the end because they still have
yeah,
what
they
they still
if,
have
if they're into
Texas, they
one,
still
their
have
next couple
OU, and
weeks, yeah, couple road trips coming up to Kansas State and Texas Tech, so that could be tricky. Then yeah, you mentioned Baylor or Texas, then Baylor at home and at OU.
Yeah,
So, but
we know both OU and Texas looking for a little revenge there from last year.
hmm
um, and then talking about Texas Tech, man, Kansas State went into Lubbock and won. I was like, what in the
hmm
world is going on today? It's just a lot of craziness happened yesterday. Like, just a lot of games where you really didn't think that, you know, bad teams that you really didn't think were going to win games really took it to folks. And it was just a crazy Saturday. A lot of weird stuff happened there. Not a lot of the, big games, but, some of the smaller, middle games was kind of a lot of weird results. But
hmm
I guess it's
Um,
just signs of this whole season. It's just, you just never know.
no, absolutely. And then you got results like that Florida South Carolina game was
hmm
kind
That
of
was a good
crazy.
game. It was
Yeah, a good
entertaining.
game. The Gators get a good win
They do get a good
a-
win.
and an up and down season. Um,
But, overall, there's still. I mean, what are they now? 4-2 on the season.
yeah, 5-2, 3-1 in the
5-2.
SEC.
Yeah. I mean,
They
as
get their
bad as
shot
things
at.
started in Salt Lake City, yeah.
hmm
At one point we were like, man, is this team gonna win 3 games? And now they're, yeah. I
hmm
mean, they had their shot against Georgia. Not likely, but they're. I mean, they're very much still alive and everything in the SEC East.
Yeah, I mean the cocktail party can be wild. And we mentioned teams. They're another team that end of schedule that's brutal for them.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
they're
they
next.
end their
Yeah,
season with trips to
everything is
Baton
tough.
Rouge and then Columbia,
Yeah,
Missouri, and before hosting Florida State. So
yeah. And even that Arkansas game, you never know.
yeah, exactly. So who knows? In a month and some change, we might be talking about how Florida ended their season with 5 straight losses. So who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
Um,
Exactly. But yeah, that's definitely a brutal schedule. I mean, between this year's schedule and the next year's schedule, the SEC has done Florida no favors for sure.
no, not at all. And then let's see some down there in the mid majors and all that. We had Air Force and Tulane jump into the rankings. Air Force first
hmm
time this year. Tulane back in. Air Force big win for them over Wyoming.
Yeah,
Um, another good game late last night.
yeah, it was.
Um, 34-27 win for Wyoming. I think they scored a late one to break a tie. Um, and then Tulane beat Memphis. That was a Friday night game, right?
Yep,
Um,
yep.
in Memphis, so it's a good win. They're kind of rolling along in the American there. Um, they got a lot of winnable games on their schedule.
They do.
You really would think that they should finish this
They
year
should run
11
the
and one.
table.
Yeah.
They
Um,
should run the table. Will they? Who knows? Yeah,
yeah. Who
nothing.
knows?
Just said they should run the table. And then my thing with the whole poll, they're talking about the little guy. Man, when is James Madison ever going to get in the top 25?
It's got to come next week if it doesn't come
Yeah, I mean
right.
they're right. I mean I know they're right there. They're 26 basically in both polls. But I was like, man,
What do they
no
got to
love.
do?
Yeah, I mean they beat a good team yesterday.
hmm
They're playing good, great football. I mean, dang, what do they have to do? And if if they run the table, they're probably not gonna jump to lane. But I mean, that's tough to keep. They always put a New Year six.
Well, and are they eligible? I forget
Oh, yeah, are they on that?
that because
No,
they're weird
some
in
of these
that
guys you
transition
forget
year.
how. Yeah,
And
sometimes I forget like what year the folks are
yeah,
moving
and
up.
that's my thing. I can't even ever remember if they're eligible, who's not. Um,
hmm
but yeah, it would be a shame if they didn't get some
Something because they're having a heck
postseason
of a year.
recognition.
Exactly. Because I
That's-
still don't understand the whole thing with that. Like, what is the purpose of a team not being able to go to a bowl game or in the basketball if they win their conference, but it's throwing second year in Division One. Oh, the second place team gets to go to the tournament. Like what does that serve? What purpose? I've never understood what the reason behind that is, or why they wouldn't get what they won. Like,
So yeah, no, they are
not eligible.
not eligible.
Jeez.
But yeah, that's just one of those dumb NCAA rules. Like why a
Yeah,
team gets banned
there's
from
no.
postseason play the first 2 years after jumping up makes absolutely no
Yeah,
sense.
I mean, we're punishing the team because they wanted to move up to a tougher competition. What?
Yeah,
It makes no sense. If they come into the tougher competition and win, hey, let them in. They deserved it. They done a heck of a job. Like, what are we doing?
yeah. But yeah, next week, pretty big lineup again. Of course, we got the third Saturday in October in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, that's gonna be epic.
Um, and we mentioned Alabama wants revenge for
The
last year.
last year, for sure.
No more Hendon Hooker, no more Jalen Hyatt for Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
No more Pete Golding to pick on.
Because
So
I
it'll
mean,
be an
even
interesting
yesterday, I
matchup.
mean, overall, I mean, even yesterday, I mean, for the most part, the defense looked good. I mean, it fell
Hmm.
asleep a little bit in that second half, but overall, I can't complain about what the defense has been doing. And yeah, I mean, I think they'll be based upon what I've seen from Tennessee's offense. I think they'll be fine.
Yeah. Might be one of those more ugly Alabama
Oh
Tennessee
yeah,
matchups. Not quite a
yeah,
shootout.
yeah. I could see it getting back to like 17-14 type.
Hmm. Yeah.
And what was that? Still one of my favorites. The year we were 05 when we beat them. Was it
9-6
9-6 with the Roman
or six
Harper?
three actually. I think even
That's
yeah.
it. Yeah, getting the ball out of there. One of the ugliest games, but one of the most epic wins.
Hmm. Yeah, it was great to be in that student section. When
Man, was
yeah,
that
Roman
epic.
laid that hit down, balling out the end zone, the DJ Hall
Hmm.
catch on the ensuing drive,
Oh,
and then
epic.
yeah, and then old money Jamie Christensen booting
Hmm.
one through the uprights. Of course, I think the big tilt next week, Penn State at Ohio State.
Yeah, that's gonna tell us everything.
Huge midseason rumble there in the Big Ten East, and uh, big playoff implications, of course.
Yeah,
The
it
loser of
does.
that
And
one,
really,
has to run the table to even stand a
think of it.
chance. Yeah, because
Yep.
they both have to play Michigan after this. So
Yeah. And yeah,
um,
I mean, this would be a big for because really, I mean, this is Penn State's first big competition game, and we've seen them blow out everybody. But
mhm.
outside of that first week against West Virginia, I mean, who have they really played? So we'll find out about them on the road in Columbus. If they're able to pull that off, they're for real.
Hmm.
We shall see.
Yeah,
It'll
and
be
this is
very interesting.
I did read one interesting stat talked about Penn State's lack of explosive plays on their offense. That's something you would think they'd want to have ready to go to
Yeah.
play Ohio State, because their defense has played well, but
Hmm.
we'll see against Marvin Harrison Jr.
All right. Yeah. And
Um,
that will test you. But despite that, I mean, still a still an Ohio State team that's they're good, but they're not. They just don't scare you. They're if there's a year that you're gonna catch Ohio State, this is the year to catch them.
mhm,
Because I mean, the offense is good, but they haven't found a running game. With Trayvon Henderson, he's been hurt a lot. And when he's not healthy, that running game, they become very one-dimensional. So I
mhm,
mean, you know exactly what they're bringing every week because they can't run the ball for any
mhm,
reason at Ohio State. But if Penn State ever wants to beat Ohio State, this is the time to do it. Because I think this is, even though they're still good, this is the most vulnerable Penn State team. I mean, Ohio State team that I've seen in a while.
No, absolutely, yeah. Notre Dame, arguably should have beat them in the horseshoe, and
Should have beat them.
no
But
reason that LSU can't. Or no, that was in South Bend. Sorry, but still,
yeah, but I
point
mean,
point
yeah,
remains. Yeah, they're beatable. Yeah,
they're very beatable. But it's a matter, can you do it? And we know James Franklin struggles against Michigan and Ohio State at his time in
hmm
Happy Valley. So
yeah. I guess after that, Duke visits Florida State. That's a really big, interesting matchup there.
that
Um,
is interesting.
you wonder if Riley Leonard will be healthy for Duke. Um, and you wonder how this is another one of those "Are you for real?" games for Florida State, because you got to keep
Hmm.
your focus and
Yeah.
take care of a game. I'm sure. Let's see, they are initially favored. Yeah, Florida State's 13.5 point favorites, so
Hmm. I
that
mean,
might be a little much, but
that may be a little high, but I mean, I get why. I mean, they're
hmm
looking at it as whether Leonard's going to play. Also, they're looking at it. We know how good that Duke defense is, but if, they definitely can't. Don't want to get in a. They're not ready for a shootout with Florida State. They're gonna have
right,
to ugly it up like they did against Clemson.
yeah,
They're gonna have,
absolutely,
and how they did against Notre Dame. They're gonna have to make it a physical game, and keep it close and low scoring because they don't have the horses to keep up with that with Coleman there. Because man, that Keon Coleman is a heck of a receiver.
yeah, absolutely. Um, let's see. Then elsewhere, a couple games. I mean, not as big as they initially were, but Utah at USC.
Still a big game. I mean, that
Yeah,
determines someone's fate in the Pac-12 because you don't
I'm
want
about
to
to
get that
say
second
losers
loss.
probably out of the Pac-12 race there for
Oh
sure.
yeah,
Um,
for sure.
but it's a big boost, yeah, for the winner. Either a good rebound for USC or
Hmm.
another continuing kind of to rebound for Utah if they win that one.
But
They're 14th and 18th respectively.
yeah,
Um,
that'll be interesting because
mhm,
yeah, it'll be, the Trojans they've lost, with this coaching staff and Caleb Williams, but they haven't been. Well, I guess they kind of got punched, but that was at the end of the Pac-12 title game. But in the
mhm,
regular season, they really haven't been punched in the mouth like this. I
mhm.
mean, they really got dominated yesterday, so it'll be interesting to see how they bounce back. Because no, overall, I think they're a finesse team. They're not. They're kind of soft, so it'll be interesting just to see what their bounce back is like. And the Utah defense. I mean, they're probably watching, learn, seeing what Notre Dame did. We know that they have a heck of a defense, so if they can ugly it up like that, who knows?
Yeah. Let's start a couple tough weeks for the Utes too. They go to USC next week, then they host Oregon the
Yeah,
following weekend. So,
yeah.
um, yeah. And then let's see, Oregon. Speaking of them, they'll have to rebound from their loss. They host Washington State, as we mentioned. Uh, you're either
Mm.
catching the Cougars at the right time, or you're catching a really desperate team. So that one might be tricky, but being at home,
Being at home should definitely help.
yeah,
And I think Oregon, they have nothing to hold their heads down about. I mean, they went into a tough environment, Seattle. The Huskies are a heck of a team. I mean, they're still playing for everything. I mean, they run the table. They beat Washington in the Pac-12 title game in the revenge game. I mean, they're very much, who knows, could very well
hmm
be a playoff team. So I mean, they're still playing for everything. No reason to hold their heads down at all. Just time to get back to business, and I think they'll be fine.
yeah.
I would
Um,
probably expect them to based on what I've seen from Washington State the last couple of weeks. I would think that Oregon might house them, but
yeah.
it's been a weird season. Who knows? But that's what I would be if I'm betting. I'm betting minus whatever the favorite the Ducks go into that game because
Yeah, and Oregon could be coming in pissed off too. Um,
yeah, that's yeah, for sure.
let's see, and then Trying to see any other interesting matchups next week. Clemson at Miami again. That's another one that's kind of
Clemson and Miami
less
lost a lot of
interesting
luster.
now.
Yeah,
But yeah, loser of that one is officially
I
uh,
limit. Well,
yeah, they're
I mean everybody's out in the ACC pretty much.
no, but yeah, that's just one of those like it kind of the season you wanted. It's not going to happen. You lose this
Yeah,
game, so
for sure.
um, Michigan at Michigan State again something
Mm.
Michigan should win, but maybe their first kind of actual test of the year. Um,
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. Like Michigan State's a bad team. It's a rivalry game,
hmm
and Michigan State's had some good years, but
But yeah, that's
yeah,
not a good team
I
this
think
year.
no, I think it's not gonna be much of a game at all. In fact, I'd be kind of shocked. No matter where the game's at this year, Michigan. Even when yesterday when they started off slow, I mean, they've been blowing the folks out. Like I know they haven't played anybody, but they've handled business every week like they should be. They haven't had a slow. They've had this slow starter too, but once they get going, poof.
hmm Um, rematch of last year's Big 12 title game, TCU at Kansas State. Ole
Mm,
Miss visits Auburn. You would think that Ole Miss should be able to do
should
what
be
LSU
fine.
did to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see an old rivalry sparking back up. Texas at Houston. Um, couple of the Big 12 surprise teams. Oklahoma State visits West Virginia.
hmm
South Carolina visits Missouri.
I'm talking about West Virginia. They had a tough loss Thursday night. The ending of that
Mm,
game was crazy with Houston
Houston.
there. They
Yeah.
got the late go ahead touchdown with less than a minute, and then Houston hit the Hail Mary, and the old saying, "Bat the ball down."
hmm Yeah.
That was
Tough
a crazy
first
ending.
conference loss for West Virginia.
Yeah.
Yeah. They really, they came near backing up their Neil Brown's crazy rant, from this past summer where he
hmm
said, they made this big rant about being voted to finish last in the conference. And
Yeah.
he's, they're following through.
Yeah.
Only two losses were that, a Hail Mary loss and then a loss to Penn State.
To
So you
Penn
can't
State.
really.
So hey, they're doing what they're
hmm
a lot more than what people thought, for sure.
hmm and then, like I said, I think that might be it for kind of interesting games next week.
Yeah.
Look at these Thursday matchups. And there are James Madison. They travel to Marshall Thursday, so you would
Mm.
think a win there should finally
hmm
get them some top 25 love.
But
Um,
Marshall's had a pretty solid. See, I think
mhm.
they yeah, James Madison at Marshall. Yeah, that's a wow. It's an interesting game.
The best trophy in college football, Memphis at UAB for the bronze ribs or the gold ribs they play for.
hmm
Battle of the
Heck yeah.
Ribs.
Heck yeah.
Um, but yeah, should be it for the college game. NFL, not much going on. I wouldn't say it's a boring NFL season, but it's just kind of
Just
chugging
kind of going
along.
along. Yeah.
Yeah, it's still got probably a few weeks before it gets really hyped
I guess
up.
just because it's 17 games,
Mm-hmm.
so I mean you have certain room for error.
Mm-hmm.
If you lose a game here, a game there, I mean, it might seem big that week, but overall, how big of a loss is it really? Now, if you're
Yeah.
really losing 4 and 5 in a row, of course, that's a whole different thing. But just so much room for error, and for a lot of these teams, this is about making the playoffs, and everything
Mm-hmm.
changes once you're in that playoff situation.
Yeah.
To me, I guess the biggest shocker this week is San Francisco losing to Cleveland after killing my Cowboys last Sunday.
No, for sure. Not only losing to Cleveland, but losing to Cleveland with no Deshaun Watson.
Yeah,
So you figured that
PJ Walker.
offense, last time out, the Browns, played
hmm
the Ravens at home and no Deshaun, and they
Look,
scored
they
three
look
points and had
terrible.
less than 200 yards of offense. Uh,
Exactly.
they looked bad. I picked San
Hmm.
Fran in the picks column this weekend and
Yeah, who wouldn't
didn't get
have?
that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Even after the bump, that line bumped up with the news. I'm like, yeah,
Hmm.
okay, but maybe some injury scares. McCaffrey hurt and uh,
Hmm.
Debo Samuel both left the
Yeah.
game. Um, so yeah, that's definitely the big news of this week so far, leaving the
Yeah.
Eagles as the only unbeaten team. But right now they're in a fight
I
with the
know they're in a
Jets.
fight for their life. Yeah. Jalen had just had a interception a couple plays ago.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you never. And the thing is, you never know with Zach Wilson. If I'm a
Yeah.
Jets fan, I'm nervous every time he throws the ball
Mm-hmm.
because he's done some good things, but he's one of those no consistency. You just never know what's gonna happen.
Yeah. Yeah. The Ravens held on, beat Tennessee
They
this
did.
morning. Um, the Raiders, the Patriots have scored 2 touchdowns.
Big news.
Big news. Yeah, and they
They're in
have
the
the
game.
ball,
They
2 minute
had a
warning.
ball. Yeah, 1917.
Yeah,
So
down to the
this is one that
Rams
they
handling the.
desperately.
Yeah, they just need to play, and that's a problem. They don't have bad drop in the Jets game right there. Um, they
Yeah, that
just
was.
look. Mac isn't playing great. A lot of his fundamentals. It seems like his footwork's not the
Mhm.
same, but
Not the best.
he has no one around him. His line, his
His line
receivers. I
is.
mean, he's got Ramondre Stevenson in the backfield, and
Yeah.
Zeke's not what he used to be. So, and Hunter Henry's a pretty good tight
No.
end, but just nothing to
Like
work
it's a
with.
bunch of dudes like his ones are the other team's threes and fours.
Yeah, yeah, they're the
It's
guys
just
that might have a great week once or twice a year because
right.
the other team's focused on the other stars, but
Exactly.
they're not
But
guys
you
that
can't
should
have
be his number ones. Yeah.
right. You can't have a room full of those guys.
Um. Yeah. So elsewhere, yeah, Rams looks like they'll beat the Cardinals. Lions look like they'll beat the Bucks.
Hmm.
Earlier, let's see, Commanders beat Falcons, Vikings beat Bears. Bengals beat the Seahawks. All kind of expected results. Dolphins
All right.
really easily beat the Panthers. I think the
Even
Panthers are the
though
only.
they did get up 14-0.
Yeah,
The
the
Panthers
Panthers.
jumped up
Yeah,
that
I'll say that.
14-0 lead. I was like, what? But then the Dolphins like,
Yeah,
yeah,
and then
that was
then
nice.
that was 14-0 after the first quarter, and then the rest of 3 quarters is 42-7. So,
Yeah.
um, Jags beat the Colts, and Texans beat the
Hmm.
Saints at home. Maybe that one was a little
That
surprising.
was
Texans are
yeah.
3-3, man.
The Texans
Um,
are Texans are way ahead of what people thought they'd be this year.
hmm
People thought, well, they might be a nuisance time again, but shoot, they're winning games.
Yeah, I
You
think
have to
that
take them
C.J.
seriously.
Stroud and the
CJ
receiver
Stroud.
Nico Collins. Yeah, that might be a pair we hear for years to come.
Oh wow, yeah, for sure. Because I mean, you look at, I mean, if you look at that, the Texans. I mean, they could very well. I mean, they probably should have won. They definitely should have won last week against Atlanta. So I mean,
hmm
overall, they're having a heck of a season for what it is. I mean,
hmm
and then they have games come up against, next week against the Panthers.
hmm
Um, and then they play the Bucks, the Bengals, Cardinals, Jaguars. I mean,
Yeah, right.
there's a lot of games on their schedule they could very well win. I mean,
Yeah, it's a win when they can win all of their division games. There's no one else,
yeah,
and
there's
as
no
we
one in the
speak,
division.
Mac
I mean,
Jones
we've
drops a
already seen them.
dime into Devontae Parker's hands, and he drops it.
Golly.
Gotta haul that
Oh
in. Had a
wow, you
step on
gotta
the
catch that.
defender.
Yeah.
I
Oh
mean, Mac
wow.
put that ball. Yeah,
You
I mean,
might have
come on.
been to
Like
that. Yeah, perfect, bro. You
what we're
gotta
saying is,
catch that.
stop hating on our boy Mac. He needs some help.
Man, a perfect pass. I mean, you gotta take. That's almost when you could have took to the house.
I mean, yeah,
You
they're
catch
at the
that in
what that
stride
they're
like
at
that.
their own 7 yard line right now, and that would
Yeah,
have put them over on the Raiders side of the field.
easily.
Um, Now it looks like a penalty. Yeah, but yeah, that's kind of a good segue right there. Just a real quick. So obviously, you probably agree with me. All this Belichick is, any talk about him getting fired is ridiculous. It's Bill Belichick.
Yeah,
He's earned the right to go out on his own
as
terms
he
there,
needs to.
but So, we hear it all the time with Alabama and stuff, is the Saban, is he cooked? Is the dynasty over? Post Brady, Pats just haven't really been that great.
No, they
Is
haven't.
Belichick just in it trying to get to that overall win total now, or does he still got something in his tank? Ooh,
I don't know. He's closer to the overall loss category than he is the overall wins because he's right behind Dan Reeves in that, and Mac just took the safety. Oh
yep.
Lord,
And just a safety now. That offensive line just, as soon as Max stepped back,
see,
he.
yeah, and that's pretty much the ball game right there, I would
Hmm.
say. But yeah, that we always had a there was always a debate: is it Belichick, is it Brady? I guess we kind of got our answer that it was more Brady, but at the same time, I mean, it's hard to say. Because for those first couple of Super Bowls, I mean, Brady was just another guy. He was good, but he was a
Hmm.
guy.
Yeah.
When they first beat the Rams in '02, he was a guy. They weren't winning because of Tom Brady. Maybe even that second Super Bowl, they're not winning because of Tom Brady. I mean, he's doing what he's supposed to do, but no one's like, "Oh, Tom Brady's this amazing guy." He really came into his time, and they played well off each other.
Hmm.
But honestly, I mean, you know, at the end of the day, Tom Brady went into a perfect situation once he left. Once he left, that first year in Tampa was just a perfect situation. I mean, the defense was stacked, a plethora of wide receivers there. So I mean, uh, so I think he went into a great situation. But yeah, I mean, this Patriots though, I mean, to say that you could fire Bill Belichick after what he's done for the last almost 30 years is crazy.
Yeah. No.
I
That's
mean,
crazy talk. At the very least, you owe him one of these off-season discussions where in closed
yeah,
doors you say we want to go a different way, and then in public you say, "Oh,
yeah.
Bill Belichick has decided that he wants to leave."
Just step away. Yeah, you at
Yeah.
least make it seem like he left on his own. Because there's absolutely no. Because I mean, who were the Patriots before Bill Belichick?
Hmm. Yeah.
And then who
Bill Parcells
they
got them
were?
going,
I
but
mean, they were okay, but I mean, they wasn't
yeah.
weren't a dynasty. I mean, they were sometimes a playoff team, hit and miss.
Hmm.
But I mean, that's crazy. Yeah. He's just one of those guys. He's a victim of his own success. It's kind of
Hmm.
like Nick Saban is so successful, and once it goes down just even a little bit, and everybody's like, "Oh, what's happened? What's wrong with this team?" You
Hmm.
know,
Yeah,
even last
exactly.
year, of course, we felt that it was such a failure for Nick Saban, and then we had two losses that could have very well been two wins, and we're in the
Yeah,
playoff, and
and a Sugar
none of
Bowl
that talk
champion.
even happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just crazy.
um
Just a few small things change everything
hmm.
completely.
I think what it is people too, I think they're getting the past couple of years just getting hyped up in the preseason about these things. Oh, the Patriots could win the East this year. It's a
Hmm.
wide open division. It's like, but still,
It's
like,
not.
we can't, like you said, you look at that receiver room, you have to know, like,
It's
those aren't.
horrible.
There's not a number
That's
one in
not.
there, and there's barely a number
No.
two.
Yeah, I wouldn't want that on my. If that's a wide receiver court, Alabama, I'm not excited about it. That's just
Uh.
what it is. Honestly, I mean, there's guys.
Yeah.
If that's your third option, cool. But your one, that's terrible. And that's the
Yeah.
one thing that I guess I guess that's my only knock on Bill Belichick.
Hmm.
And sometimes he think, he's the had that smartest guy in the room thing. And some of his draft picks, you're like, bro, what is this?
They're drafting the past 5, 6 or so years. Is really.
For a while, it was pretty cool. It's
Hmm.
cool for a while. No name guys and they turn them into something. But recently, it's been pretty dismal.
Yeah. Um, yeah, that Patriots game, that's official now.
Hmm.
And
But
again,
then the other
tough.
thing
Like, you
too
look at
is
that, and Mac didn't play. His stats weren't mind blowing, but
he
and
did
you
enough to
look at that
win.
last drive. Like I said, Devontae Parker dropped. I mean, that was a dime. Mac Jones threw a
Right.
absolute great pass from his
Perfect
own
throw.
end zone. Yeah,
I
and
expected Junior High kid to catch that.
yeah, um,
I mean, that's just a perfect, well thrown ball. I mean, they covered. He had the coverage beat. It wasn't like anybody was like he saw someone last second, to get his head knocked off or anything like that. He was past his coverage. Like, yeah, that's just crazy.
Yeah. Um, yeah, moving on. Um, we told you do not follow our advice.
Mm,
And once again, our Major
sorry
League
about him.
Baseball predictions, horrible. Uh, I'm just not going to do them anymore because maybe I
Mm,
did jinx the Braves, or who knows, maybe just the best lineup ever, quote unquote, should score more than what 8 runs in 4 games. Uh, but yeah, Philly beats the Braves. The D backs sweep the Dodgers. Um, all those results, that might have been the most surprising to me.
yeah,
Um,
I mean the fact that they just blat, but you gotta
mhm.
think about it. Two teams with over 100 wins apiece, 200 combined wins over, and yet only one playoff win. That's craziness.
Yeah, and then you don't forget you count the Rays too. They got knocked out in two
Yeah,
games, and they were, but a 90+ win team.
yeah.
Um,
Same with Baltimore.
yeah. The Rangers, so
Took it to
three,
Baltimore.
100 win teams.
Yeah,
Um, just kind of
same.
shocking. And then the study is there. The Astros reached their seventh straight ALCS.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
All
and
Texas
become
affair.
yeah, all Texas. Astros Rangers. That'd be a pretty fun one over. They got Philly and D backs.
For
You would
sure.
think Philly's probably heavily favored in that one.
All right.
They'll play game
But
one
if you're
Monday.
But if you're if you're, I don't, it just doesn't have that. Again, for Major League Baseball, overall, the national appeal is just not there.
No, yeah. I guess you're rooting for maybe a rematch with Philly and Houston, so
Yeah,
you could
because
plug that. But yeah, I don't know.
right,
Yeah.
you get the Rangers and D backs, you're like, goodness.
Hey, I'll take a Ranger. I
I mean,
would
I
gladly
mean,
see a Rangers D backs World
I
Series
mean, it'd be good.
personally.
I mean, if you like, I mean, I know you would, because seeing the Phillies again would be terrible. And you guys got to
Just
figure out how to not play the Phillies at least in
yeah,
the divisional round. My goodness.
yeah, yeah,
I know they
yeah.
have y'all's number in the playoff for whatever reason.
Some Philly fans found me on Blue Sky, so that was fun.
Oh, did they?
I may have said some bad words about the Phillies, but
Uh,
uh,
that's funny.
but no. Well, real funny is one of the pictures this guy sent me.
Hmm.
It was in reply was just a picture of what appears to be a Phillies player flipping you off, but if you actually look at the picture, it's him holding up his ring
Hmm.
finger. So if they don't win, I'm gonna go back and remind this gentleman that
Oh, yeah.
he foreshadowed this, and all he was doing was actually showing me that look, we're not going to win any rings either. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah,
Interesting. So the middle
we'll see.
finger would have been a much better idea.
Yeah, so I don't know if he
Sounds
just
like
didn't realize in this picture or he thinks it's a middle finger, but it's clear if you look at the picture, it's the guy holding up
it's
a
his
ring
ring
finger.
finger, and it's
Um,
empty.
yeah,
Hmm.
that's weird. Uh, yeah, but yeah, that's a weird thing. There's just nothing to explain there. It's just the Braves bats. Everyone worried about the pitching, but the Braves, like I said,
Yeah,
the
the
lineup, one of
bat.
the most potent lineups in Major League history, scored 8 runs in 4 games,
Yeah, that's
and
craziness.
you got to do better. Um, they get shut out for the first 15 innings of the series before that great comeback in Game Two. You
And
get
really,
blown
it should
out
have
in
been a
Game
sweep,
Three.
honestly.
Hmm?
I mean, it very well probably should have been a sweep.
Yeah, and no,
Then
yeah,
came two was, you know, and honestly, I thought, after they won that epic game two, I thought, well, then maybe that's what they needed to turn it around, and maybe it's
no.
gonna be hard for Philly to bounce back. But
And
yeah,
that was really the whole. That was the theme of the series. Philly just every time, they hit back.
hmm,
The Braves in game 1 and 4, stranded too many guys on base, and then Philly would take advantage, and then the Braves just the Phillies finally ran out of outs in game 2, but then
hmm,
game 3 the Braves went up early, but then Philly responded, and then some, and then game 4. The Braves go up 1-0, like the third inning, and you're like,
yeah,
okay. And then immediately what happens? The Phillies respond.
yeah,
So that's, maybe they're the favorite now with that lineup, and those two star pitchers. One thing I do, and I
and
think I even said this online, but I don't think all these calls that, oh, it's the playoffs fault, these got to do something about it. I don't, That's too much. Like I agree that there are some things that like the teams that get buys, you should reseed after the wild card round probably. Like the Braves probably shouldn't have
Mm,
had to play the Phillies. No,
right.
it's kind of a crappy reward for having the best record in your league. It's like, oh, here you go, you get the hottest team. Um,
Yeah,
so maybe we should have flipped, and the Braves should have got the D backs
but
because they were the
still,
lower seed. But still,
right.
yeah, you just got to play your
You,
game and hit, and they don't do
right.
that.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't mind seeing that change. And then, but you say that, but
Kind of
then in
like
the
how the
other,
NFL does.
yeah, in the other
I'd
league
rather
though, I
see
believe the
that.
Rangers were, uh, you know, a low seed themselves. But yeah, I don't know.
I mean, yeah, because I mean the Rangers, shoot, they had to go on the road, beat. They had, fell off at the very end to lose the division on the last
Mm-hmm,
weekend. Went on the road and they, handled a what seemed like a good Tampa team. Made
mm-hmm,
them look pretty bad. They went on the road to Baltimore, made them look pretty average.
mm-hmm.
This Rangers team's been on fire.
It's just one of these things. These certain teams get up for the postseason, and you know
Yeah,
that's you have to get up. And I think some Braves players have come out and said that like hey, no, it doesn't matter. I know a lot of people talked about all the rest you get,
hmm
and basically their answer was like, we're professionals. If we can't
you
play
can't
the
get up for
same
that.
way or play our
What are you
game
doing?
after 5 days off, then we don't deserve to be here anyway. So,
Right.
uh, but yeah, so like I said, we'll
Yeah,
spare
it's tough.
y'all
It's tough.
predictions.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just tough, for these teams. I mean, to
Hmm.
win well over 100 games and then your season just ends so quickly. It's just like, my goodness,
Yeah, it
you
it
know?
sucks because the Orioles were such a great story, and you'd like to kind of
Yeah,
see them against
yeah,
the Astros who have been there, so many times before.
right.
And then you'd probably, especially if you're Major
The
League
Astros
Baseball,
have
but
pretty much turned into the 2020, well, 2010, 2020
mhm,
Yankees. They've kind of taken over the American League.
yeah, um, yeah, and then game one of that series is tonight. But then yeah, and maybe in the NL, the MLB certainly would want to see Braves Dodgers. I think
Oh
kind
yeah,
of
I mean, this
rematch of
has
some past few
and it
seasons.
has,
Yeah.
and then as far as the ratings, I mean, it has national appeal. I mean, Braves fans are everywhere. LA market, Dodgers fans seem to be a lot of different places. So
Hmm.
ideally, that's what you want. I mean, now we got Phillies, D-backs. I mean, other than, big baseball fans, it's not going to get your casual eye on it at all.
Yeah. Um.
And I think
You know.
really the only thing that people probably looking for is because even the Calgary fan know, of course, about Houston cheating. So I mean, that probably still gets some eyes off that alone. But other
Yeah.
than that, I mean, Major League Baseball, the ratings are probably going to be pretty low for the ALCS and the NLCS and then probably the World Series as well. Other than your faithful baseball fans,
Hmm.
no
Yeah.
casual eyes are really going to be up there watching.
Yeah. Yeah. It's but so it goes.
Yeah,
Yeah. You think, like I said, it's probably the Philly, maybe a rematch of last year, Philly and Houston.
yeah.
But you absolutely cannot count out Texas and Arizona.
Mm-mm.
But yeah,
Yeah,
as
because
far
they've
as Major League
been.
Baseball is concerned, they're probably a little disappointed because now we're probably not going to get big time ratings off of those.
Right. Yep.
Um,
Not at all. State of Texas will be huge, but
yeah, oh yeah, those Dallas and Houston markets are at least a little
gonna be
big, but
boom. But outside of that, yeah, it's gonna be kind of. But yeah, I
yeah,
mean, but yeah, I guess overall that the Arizona man, I mean, just epic. I mean, quietly had a good regular season and then the playoffs. I mean, just took it to a different level. I mean, they
um,
very well could beat. They might not. Probably not the favorite just because the Phillies are a bigger name. But man, they, they're a sleeper. I mean, that might be like the old 2001 Diamondbacks win a title.
hmm yeah. I think that should do it. Anything else you want to touch on for this week?
Not a whole lot other than it is 8 weeks, so it's always a good time to not eat anything orange, drink anything orange, and I always find the famous video of Irv giving us
Mm-hmm.
reasons why he hates Tennessee. Watch that a few times this week, and you'll be ready to go for Saturday.
Yeah, watch some of your favorite highlights, or if you're in the,
Oh yeah.
you need to get angry, watch the reel of some of the questionable calls from last year's game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, do whatever you got to
That'll do
do.
it. Shouldn't take too much though. It's
No,
always
yeah.
enough to eat.
And then pick a good cigar out. Uh,
Oh yeah, ready to smoke one.
but yeah.
Think of
So what's done up real good for you this week?
done up for me really good this week. Just another good week of my daughter in school. I'm proud of her. Doing a heck of a job. Doing some volunteer stuff. Grades are through the roof. Can't ask for too much more. How about you?
I'm gonna say I mentioned the fall weather. It's sweatpants season. That's always nice. It's always fun.
Oh yeah.
Uh, Nice and relaxed. But other than that, yeah, good. Good sports. Chili season,
Mm-hmm.
sweatpants season,
Oh
all those
yeah.
fun things that come with the colder weather,
Yep.
and more sports.
Yes, sir.
So that'll do it for us this week, though. Thank you for listening. As always, subscribe, rate us, all that. Tell your friends about us. Tell your rich friends about us. Uh, and of course, listen to everything else on the Alabama Take Family Podcast. Check us out at thealabamatake.com. And keep it done up real good out there yourselves, folks. Greg, take it easy, man.
Yep. See you later.